I'm April Watts, and you're listening to MyMagicDC.com. Joining me today via telephone is Frank Mitchell. He's a human resources expert and the author of an amazing new book called Frank's Roadmap to Career Success. Hey, Frank, how's it going?
Good morning, April. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to the Magic audience.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime I can have an opportunity to share some of this good stuff, I'm up for it. So thank you for having me.
So let's get to it. You have a lot of years in human resources under your belt. Tell me a little bit about your professional background.
Well, April, I started my career probably about 16 years ago in human resources. I have worked primarily on the staffing side of things. I have hired over 1,800 people now. I've spent about $75 million of companies' money buying that talent for them. I've interviewed over 20,000 people during my career. I just enjoy the people business. I've worked in the labor relations industry when I worked for Marriott, where I was primarily the key point of contact for the local labor unions in New York City, in the New York City market. I've worked for such companies like Bank of America, where I ran a staffing division, in investment banking technology, where I hired over 600 people and spent about $50 million of buying that talent just with that organization alone. So I've had just a wealth of time spent with people, hiring people, and putting people to work. So I'm happy to share, some of the things that I've written in my new book, Frank's Roadmap to Career Success, with you and your audience today.
Well, in Frank's Roadmap to Career Success, you give a lot of anecdotes to support your points, which I really love. But I think the story I enjoyed reading the most is the one where you talked about how you became an entrepreneur in grade school. So, Frank, what I need you to tell the Magic audience is, how did you get from selling blow pops and sandwiches to make extra money to where you are today?
Well, April, that was those stories were absolutely true indeed. As a young man, in elementary school, I was very entrepreneurial. I used to, bring a bag of blow pops to school and sell them and make, probably what I paid for the bag 4 times over. And that just was based out of necessity. Mm-hmm. Growing up, I wasn't always given all of the money that I needed at home to, whether it was buy lunch or do some of the things that, most kids that go to school want to do. I had all the basic needs, but, some of the additional items, it just wasn't always there. So I just got creative as a young man and found that there are ways to kind of make up the difference. And I enjoyed it, and I kept it up, and that kind of got me started.
It sounds good. In your book, you mentioned that it's essential to equip yourself for your career journey. Can you tell us a few basic things that one needs in his arsenal to take on career success?
One of the chapters in my book is called equipping yourself for the journey. And so when one travels on a career journey, you need to have certain things, along the way. You need to have a network of people that you can always go to and kind of bounce different things off of, whether it's things that are going on currently at your current role, or maybe suggestions of things that you're thinking of pursuing going forward. So, some of the items that you would need is, maybe a mentor, someone that's been down the road that you're looking to travel, a support team of colleagues, of peers, of folks that have other experiences outside of the experiences that you have had, to give you a different perspective. Mm-hmm. I always advise individuals to have kind of their own personal, brain trust, if you will, of individuals that they can always kind of bring things to and have some dialogue outside of the workplace to give you a perspective on kind of what you're looking at pursuing or how to handle a certain situation. And then, of course, there's the basic things like, making sure that you have a resume and making sure that your skills and experience is highlighted properly, making sure that, references that you have, know that you have them as a reference and that, they should be expecting a call if their names should be giving out, and just things like that. Just always being prepared for the opportunity to kind of come to you so that you can take advantage of it.
All right. They say success is when preparation and opportunity meet, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I want to go back to a point that you made just a minute ago about mentors. You do a whole chapter on having a support team where you talk about mentors. Now, it would seem like a no-brainer that if you're in a certain profession that you need a mentor in that profession, but you would be surprised how many people do not have mentors. How would a person that is not connected or doesn't have a family that can grandfather them into places, how does that individual go about seeking and approaching a potential mentor?
Well, that's a great question, April. And, some organizations have formal mentoring programs. So, I would say first and foremost, if the organization that you currently work for, if you're working, has a program, look into it. Or first, look into see if your organization has something formal. If your organization does have something formal, certainly kind of look into that and see if you can get paired up with someone through that channel. Other than that, I would say that professional affiliations, networking groups are awesome places to just find people that are a little further up the road in what you're doing. And I would say, there's a couple ways that you can approach it. I have formal mentors and I have informal mentors. And some of the most influential people in my life have been those informal mentors. And what I mean by informal is they don't necessarily know that I'm utilizing them as a mentor. I go to them from time to time. I bounce different ideas and questions. I use their wisdom and their experience, but it's in a casual type of way. It's not something that's structured. In my mind, it might be structured. I might have a specific goal that I'm looking to get out of the question that I'm asking, but they might not know that it's formal. There's no formal times that we meet or anything, and it's kind of been the best experience for me. So I would say, look for those programs within your organizations. If you're not with an organization or your organization doesn't have one, look to networking events where you can find like-minded professionals that are a little further up the road, and then certainly utilize, informal mentors. Folks don't always have to know that you're utilizing them in that capacity.
Awesome. Let's move on to resumes. As a person that hires people for a living, you've seen a bunch of resumes. You've hired a bunch of people. What is the biggest mistake people make when putting together a resume?
I think the biggest mistake that people make, April, is really not understanding the purpose of a resume. The purpose of a resume is one and one thing only, and that is to secure an interview. It is not for any other reason besides securing an interview. So I would say make sure that all of your transferable skills are highlighted. What that means is just really what you're capable of doing, not just what you've done, but also be able to articulate through your resume what your capabilities are. And that will really kind of put you head and shoulders above most resumes. And then, of course, clearly articulating, where you worked, when you worked there, and what you were responsible for. And then if there were any major things that you did, such as success stories or any high visibility type projects or things that you were involved in, make sure you highlight those as well.
Okay, Frank, we're living in the age of social media, Twitter, Facebook, everything. How does one's online, or as you put it in the book, their digital image impact their chances for career advancement?
Another phenomenal question, especially in this age in 2012, where plenty of people get most of their information through the internet. I would say one of the large things that people don't realize is that before you get an interview, before you get a job offer, it is very, very, very likely that you are going to be Googled, that the potential employer is going to go online to see what they can uncover about you and who you are. So I would make sure that you go about your digital presence very, very particularly. First thing I would do is make sure you're Googling yourself often to find out what information about yourself is out there. If you don't like it, correct it, change it, delete it if it's things like images or pictures that you've put out there. Make sure that your Facebook profile and your Twitter profile is a profile that you would be comfortable with a potential employer looking at. Mm-hmm. So if you've got things out there that aren't the best representation of who you are in the workplace, you may want to securely, take the route of securing that profile, or making sure that profile, what the public can see, is things that you're comfortable with. It's imperative that you monitor your digital presence in this day and age, because it almost for certainly will be checked.
Uh-oh, you have me over here biting my nails because I get pretty interesting on Facebook sometimes. No, I'm just joking. In the professional world, though, perception is extremely important. Can you give me one tip on how someone can build their brand? Because you dedicate a whole chapter in your book to creating your brand and building your PR. And I thought about it. I scratched my head, and I was like, that's brilliant, because that's exactly what it is. But too often people that are not in high-profile positions don't look at how they market themselves as PR and branding.
I would say that it's a very simple acronym that's used in the business world. You may have heard of it, you may not have heard of it. It's PIE, P-I-E, and it stands for performance, image, and exposure. And most people think that performance is, the driving force behind, being in the workplace. But it really, really isn't. Your image and how much exposure, how many people know who you are and what you're capable of, are far more important today than what your actual job is and how you do it, unfortunately. And some people may be, extremely shocked to hear that. But, making sure that your image, when people see you, they see what you want them to see. So you are, controlling the images that people see, whether that's how you dress, how you speak, how you communicate, where you sit in meetings. Do you sit in the back of the room? Do you sit in the front? Are you taking notes? Do you ask questions? People are making decisions on who you are professionally by all of those things. And then exposure. Make sure that you get out to those, events. Make sure that people see you often so that you become, that radio personality. You become that person. So when someone says, well, who's that? Well, I don't know, but she's always here. And then it makes people kind of drawn to you. There's a mystique about who you are and what you do, and it will attract attention to you. So make sure that your image is what you want it to be, and that you're exposed enough so that image that you want can get out there.
Awesome. I love this book, Frank, because it's two things. It's comprehensive, but at the same time, it's efficient. We live in the age of Twitter where people don't want to read encyclopedia-style book, but you give encyclopedia-style information in 105 pages. And 105 pages, you managed to take a person from submitting a resume and negotiating a salary all the way to managing work relationships and getting that coveted corner office. What is your target audience for your book?
This book can really speak to folks in a very, very wide range of categories. It can certainly speak to the person that is, coming out of high school or college, looking to obtain that first job. It can also speak to that person that's earning a six-figure income, that's looking to take their career to the next level. a lot of the principles that I share in this book are transferable to, those higher level jobs. Primarily, I've, throughout my career, I've worked with those 6-figure earners and the folks that are at that, that higher level. But this book can speak to someone that's just coming out of school and they don't have any experience. They haven't had their first job and they're just kind of finding and navigating through kind of getting themselves their first job offer. So that the target audience is anyone who is working or anyone who wants to work. That's my target audience.
Sounds good to me. Now, there are some people that may want some one-on-one intensive coaching. Do you provide that?
Absolutely. I have extensive, career coaching services that I offer. I have resume writing services. Those things are all available, to folks that are interested in that.
And of course, people are going to be interested in this phenomenal book. How can they get in contact with you, or how can they purchase the book?
Well, they can go to, the book has its own website. It's Frank's Roadmap to CareerSuccess.com. And all things happen from that website. You can purchase the book right through the website. You can contact me right through the website as well. So www.franksroadmaptocareersuccess.com is where you can obtain the book and get information on contacting me.
Well, that's fantastic, and the book was an enjoyable read. I got so much from it, so I definitely encourage people to go ahead and go to that website and get the book and embark upon a phenomenal career journey. Thank you so much, Frank, and good luck with your book.
Thank you, April. Have a great day.
You too.